Hi everybody, welcome to Math with ACE. We are focusing on statistics. Today we're going to be doing a demonstration of how to use Stapplet, which is a free online resource where you can graph data, you can analyze data, you can do calculations. If you go to stapplet.com, stapplet.com, you will see what's on the right-hand side of my screen. And we're going to be making a histogram and a box plot, doing this with numerical data. Now notice in data analysis, I don't have numerical listed, but numerical data is also called quantitative data. So categorical is if you want to make a pie chart or a bar chart or something where you're talking about different categories of individuals or groups. Quantitative is where you're going to be focusing on numbers. Now I have one set of numbers here. It is data showing the number of patients, the number of months patients typically wait on a transplant list before getting surgery. If I was creating two different groups, I would want two quantitative variables. We are not doing collaborative. We're talking about a single group because we're doing this individually one-on-one. So I'm going to select one quantitative variable, single group. And then I have the option to name my data, tell it how I'm going to input it, and then input the data. The options are to either enter in summary statistics, the 5-number summary, which is the minimum, the first quartile, the median, the third quartile, and the maximum, or I could enter the mean and the standard deviation. I'm actually going to go ahead and enter raw data, and this is number of months patients wait on the transplant list prior to surgery. It's really important that you give your data a title. Data without any sort of information, data without context is pretty irrelevant because it doesn't tell us anything. Now, you can enter your data separated by commas or spaces. What I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the data that I have here, and I'm going to press Control-C, go over to my data box and press Control-V and see what happens. Now, it's not a comma, it's a semicolon. And I have a space, but it entered the data beautifully. I didn't need to do anything else, and I have all of my values here. So I'm going to go ahead and make this portion of the screen just a little bit bigger. Now, I'm able to edit my inputs. I'm able to reset, but underneath you'll see graph distribution and summary statistics. I currently have a dot plot. I could also show the box plot here if I select it. So it's the box plot on top and then the dot plot below. My number line goes by 2s here. I could take the box plot away, and then I could also use the drop down to change to a box plot itself. I could also do a histogram. With the histogram, I'm allowed to make some adjustments. What if I want to change the interval width? What if I don't want to go by 5 months and I wanted to go by 4 months? I can press 4 and enter, and then it adjusts my picture. I could change it to 2. I could change it to 10. I can make all sorts of adjustments. Remember, you're kind of like Goldilocks when you're making histograms of what is the best view, gives you the picture. You don't want it to be too small. You don't want it to be too large. Let's go back and try 3. Want to be able to get an overall picture. What is the shape of it? What would be a good representative of center? I can enter values. I could have it graphed by relative frequency if I wanted to change it to percent on the left-hand side rather than count. I could do a stem and leaf plot, allowing me to split stems, meaning I would have 2 groups for 1s, 2 groups for 2s, and so on, or 0s. Yes into 2 groups, splits it a little bit. Yes into 5 groups, splits it even more. I can shift things. So I have the capability in Stapplet to make adjustments, and it's pretty straightforward as to what you need to do, and you get to play around with it. I could also do a normal probability plot. We're going to get there later on. But right now, I really want to focus on a histogram and a box plot. Both of these graphs readily available, very easy to input. If you hover over your box plot, it will tell you what the different values are for the markers. The minimum is the first point that you see. Then you have the first quartile, the median, the third quartile, and the maximum. There are no outliers present. If there was an outlier present, let's say 50, then my box plot would actually show that as a dot. It's noting that the outlier is there by using a dot. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that value again. And go back to box plot. Underneath the box plot and the histogram was summary statistics. You'll be told the sample size, the average, the standard deviation, and then the 5-number summary in order. The minimum of 3, which is what we noted here, the first quartile of 9, the median of 13, the third quartile of 19, and the maximum of 24. I can export those. I could take a screenshot. And then you actually can do some inference, which is something that we will get to later on in our semester. So wait for those videos. But it's pretty straightforward in the calculations and interpretations of the graph. You just input your data and it does everything for you, which is beautiful. I can hover over the bars of the histogram and it will tell me the interval width, what my boundaries are, and the percentage that's in there. If I changed it from relative frequency to frequency, I would actually be told how many, the count of how many that are in there. So right now that says 8 is less than or equal to X is less than 11. So any value from 8 to less than 11 is in that group right there, and there are 9 total values. So I love this graph. I think Stapplet is amazing and definitely a great resource. Hopefully this was helpful.